I'd like to offer you 5 mindfulness activities you can do, we can all do, next time we go to the supermarket or the hardware store. So imagine that you're in the checkout line and you might notice, for example, that you're starting to get impatient or judgmental. The line isn't moving fast enough. You're looking around. Some of the people aren't wearing masks, or maybe you're judging yourself because if you're like me, I always have a tendency to pick the wrong line, the longest one, and I go, oh, there I go again. So, this just isn't really helpful. But instead, you can do mindfulness practices. Here's the first one you can do: gratitude. You can be grateful for the fact that you're in a store where they have stuff on the shelves. I've been in parts of the world where you go in, there's hardly anything in there, and you walk out empty handed. Or maybe just grateful for the fact that you have a body that can move and you can walk and then you can see things and you don't need help getting stuff off the shelves. Grateful that you have enough money that you can go shop, or so many other things, thinking about the people in your lives. I don't need to talk much more about this. Gratitude is such a really, really powerful practice that we can use to reframe our perspective and look at things in a different way. So that's tip number 1, is gratitude. The second one is doing some kind of movement practice. Sometimes when I'm standing in line, particularly if I feel kind of anxious, I'll do a grounding practice where I'll stand there and I'll just press my feet into the ground. The outer part of my feet, the inner part, the toes, maybe shifting my weight a little bit, and just imagine how I'm connected to the earth. And that can really create a sense of stability. Or I might just move my arms, gentle movement, reaching up, extending, perhaps doing a little bit of side movement or a little bit of a forward fold. I know some people are kind of self-conscious about doing stuff like this. I'm not one of them. I don't really care. But just doing some gentle movement in that way, moving the shoulders, these kind of movements we can use in this time and not have this time go to waste, just to get in our body and experience what it feels like to do that. So that's the second one, some gentle movements, some grounding. A third has to do with breath. So imagine if you just took 5 conscious breaths. Now I invite you now to not think so much in terms of a deep breath, which actually, if you're already anxious, can push us up into fight or flight, really activate the sympathetic nervous system. I'm simply talking about just expanding the breath and extending the exhale. Really feeling it in the chest, the belly, the nostrils, breathing in and breathing out and lengthening that exhale. If we do that 5 times, we can create a whole different shift. And if we are anxious, it'll help bring us down into the parasympathetic nervous system and relax us. And that'll help us think more clearly. So tip number 3 is breathing. The fourth is a type of movement called bilateral stimulation, where we cross our arms, for example, and just tap underneath the collarbone firmly. Any kind of movement where we cross our body helps connect the 2 hemispheres of the brain. And again, if you're feeling anxious, this can help bring us out of fight or flight and back into what's called the resiliency zone, or the window of tolerance. So there are a number of different types of cross-body movements that you can do like this. Sometimes, and I can't show you because I'm sitting, but sometimes I'll tap the opposite knee with a hand. Any kind of movement like that can be very helpful. And if you know tapping, which is emotional freedom technique, those are techniques that you can do while you're standing in line. So number 4, doing cross-body movements or tapping. And the 5th one is engaging our 5 senses. And sometimes this is referred to as an open monitoring meditation. So what you do is you're standing there and we open up the sense doors. We open up for example, our eyes and notice and look around. What are the things that we can see? Naming details, noticing colors and shapes and textures, engaging our ears, listening to the sounds, and maybe hearing sounds as the voice of the Buddha or something like that, really engaging those sounds. Certainly coming back into our body again, pressing our feet into the ground, and touching our body, perhaps just rubbing our pants, for example. Notice any fragrances that you might be aware of, engaging that sense of smell. And you could even, just take your shirt and smell it, for example. Or the other thing we can do is also taste. So, for example, I have the aftertaste of coffee on my tongue right now. So by engaging the senses like that, we're really opening them up and having an experience of mindfulness. So I hope those are helpful. And remember, we can meditate anywhere, anywhere. And next time you go to the store, I invite you to practice these 5 mindfulness activities or anything else that allows you to ground yourself and practice self-care. Thanks for watching.